In terms of HDR, there is not much of a difference between the PC version and the PlayStation 5 version in Uncharted. A little bit of different colors what I found between PlayStation 5 and PC, but that's it. We have on both platforms, we have actually excellent contrast in my opinion, and this is very important in HDR games because recently we have seen a lot of, how should I say, broken HDR games like the Callisto Protocol, where you have elevated black levels and the whole experience in HDR is actually not very nice, but not here. Perfect contrast. On the other hand, we have actually no settings at all to change the HDR peak brightness. And when we're talking about the HDR peak brightness in this game, we're talking about 10,000 nits, and yeah, unfortunately on the PlayStation 5 and also not on the PC we have the HDR system level calibration support, and on top of that we really have no settings at all in the menu of the game. The only setting what we have is a brightness setting, but this is not meant to change actually any HDR peak brightness setting. It's really just for the brightness setting in the game. So that means we're ending up with 10,000 nits in this game, and there is no TV right now, at least not in this room, which can display even close to 10,000 nits. And that means we're ending up with a lot of clipping and specular highlights because of the 10,000 nits. But before we start with this video, I like to thank Francis Burke, one of my subscribers, because he actually provided me with a Steam key for Uncharted on the PC, and without him this video wouldn't be possible. So thank you very much again, and now let's start. Most of my footage, what you are going to see, is recorded or filmed off my LG G2, which is this TV here. And that means you will have a lot of noise in the picture, and you will have black level crush, and you will also see additional clipping, which is because of the recording. It's not like what I can see in real, but this is something what you need to consider. Regardless of that, I did my very best to make sure that the outcome what I'm focusing on, and this is most likely specular highlights, is as close as possible to the original what you can see with my own eyes on the TV. So keep this in mind, and also keep in mind that YouTube is always changing the quality a little bit. So again, what you see on your screen is not what I can see with my own eyes. Let's just take a step back and let's talk again about let's start talking about the 10,000 nits output in this game. And I told you already, there is no system level calibration support, not on the PlayStation 5 and not on the PC. So what you can see on these examples, or those examples right now, is the maximum what I was able to find in the early game. 10,000 nits, which of course again leads to a lot of clipping and specular highlights, because to my knowledge there is right now not a single consumer TV out there which can even close, or can display even close to 10,000 nits. So that means on all the TVs out there, even you buy the latest one and the most expensive one, you will have clipping, and there is nothing what we can do about it. And this sounds actually worse than it is in real, because much more important than having perfect specular highlights is to have perfect contrast, and this is exactly what Uncharted is delivering. I have to admit there is a very minor black level raise, but this is really very minor, and I don't want to talk about this actually because it's on a very high level. Very similar to The Witcher 3, what I found in terms of HDR on the PlayStation 5, Xbox and also PC, but not on the exact same level. But anyway, on a very, very high level. So in terms of HDR black level raise, there's literally nothing what you need to do, in my opinion. You can change the fine tune dark area setting maybe a little bit, -2, -5, something like that, but it's really not a problem at all. And again, the specular highlights, even you have clipping, don't bother about it, because if you would see, or to see actually a difference between non-clipping specular highlights and clipping specular highlights, you would need to focus on them. But doing actual gameplay, there's no way that you can actually spot or see clipping in specular highlights. And because we have no setting in the game where you can change the HDR peak brightness, the only thing what we can do is actually changing settings on our TV, or at least on our LG OLED TVs. And no, the brightness setting in the game is not affecting HDR peak brightness at all. Okay, that's not completely true, but it's not meant to change the maximum peak brightness. You have, of course, a little bit of difference in the maximum peak brightness between setting 0 and 10, but then you're just ruining the picture. So it's not to recommend to change this setting to have a lower maximum peak brightness. But the thing what we can do is actually we can choose between dynamic tone mapping on, dynamic tone mapping off, and HDR on our LG OLED TVs. And my recommendation in terms of that is very, very simple. Do not use dynamic tone mapping on, do not use HDR, because you will end up with a lot of clipping and specular highlights. And I know we talked about this, it's not that important that you have perfect specular highlights, but in your case of Uncharted, we're talking really about a lot of clipping and specular highlights, as you can see in my examples right now. So my recommendation is use dynamic tone mapping off and leave the brightness set to 5, or decrease it a little bit if you like it. And yes, I know on the LG OLED TVs we have some hidden or secret menus where you can change the HDR peak mastering brightness, but I don't want to talk about this in this video because it just complicates things too much. Because in my opinion is the best outcome for playing this game on an OLED TV, LG OLED TV, you have with dynamic tone mapping off. There is no need in my opinion to change any secret settings, because at the end it's a little bit dangerous what you do actually. I mean, yeah, you get it. If you know what you're changing, then it should be okay, but if you change something by accident and you don't know what you have done and you don't know what the factory setting is, then you may end up with a broken picture, and that's what I like to avoid. So that's why in this video, very simple, just use dynamic tone mapping off, leave the brightness set to 5 or decrease it a little bit if you like it, and that's it. Thank you very much again, Francis Berg, for providing me with the Steam key. Without you, it wouldn't happen. This video wouldn't happen without you. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for liking, subscribing, and yeah, I see you guys in my next video. Thank you.